Got people. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the January 29th edition of the Decatorish Download. I am your host, Decatorish editor and founder, Dan Wisenhunt. We got a great show tonight, but before we get to that, I want to let you know we have snow potentially in the forecast this weekend. Not really sure how that's going to shape up. I know it's going to be very cold, though. So all the preparations you did for the winter last weekend, you could just go ahead and keep doing them for this weekend. We'll keep you updated on Decatorish and our media partners at Atlanta News First. We'll keep you updated as well. We're also going to hear from our sponsor, Pastries A Go-Go, in just a little bit. But now, the main event. We have Brian Allen, the co-chair of the Georgia Libertarian Party, the party of smaller government and uncompromising support for legal weed. Brian, Mr. Allen, how are you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. And we have Brian Ramirez, co-chair of the Atlanta Democratic Socialists of America, the party of bigger government and uncompromising support for legal weed. Mr. Ramirez, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you both for joining us, taking time out of your evening to chat with our readers. We got a lot happening in the news right now. We don't have a whole lot of diverse political perspectives on it. So I wanted to get two people from parties that they might not have heard as much from lately to kind of get their takes on it. To keep things from getting confusing, I'm going to refer to you as Mr. Allen and Mr. Ramirez, if that's okay. And with that, we were rocked this week and last by the events in Minneapolis, where two individuals died as a result of being shot by immigration and customs enforcement agents. It caused a big uproar. The most recent one was last Saturday. Mr. Alex Pretty was shot by ICE agents in a confrontation with them. So starting with Mr. Allen, what was your reaction when you heard the news out of Minneapolis last weekend?
I mean, it was shocking. It was just terrible. You know, we strongly support everyone's Second Amendment rights to keep and bear arms. And this notion that you can be essentially executed just because you happen to have a firearm on you is just totally unacceptable.
Mr. Ramirez, is that the DSA's take as well?
I would say that it's very upsetting, but it's hard to say it's surprising. This is exactly what the state's monopoly on violence looks like. I can't call this an unfortunate tragedy because this is exactly what they want. They want a form of license to racially profile and a license to kill. And this being a white man too, it's just it's getting to a point where it's just upsetting.
Yeah, it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch anybody be murdered in front of you. What has been, and we'll start with Mr. Ramirez, what has been the DSA's response to these events? How have you organized around it? How have you messaged around it?
Well, big thing is our largest demand is abolish ICE. There's no reason for its existence. There's no benefits from it. I feel very personally connected being Latino. My family came from Colombia to the US for a better life. And so locally, across the country, I know DSA chapters have been trying to stand up, fight back, and I know there's been like ICE tracking, lots of communication amongst citizens to keep track of where ICE is, where they will be, and so that's kind of what it's looked like locally.
Mr. Allen, I noticed your group put out a statement about Second Amendment rights following Alex Pretty's killing the other day. Can you elaborate? Is there anything else that your group has done in response to some of the stuff we're seeing in Minneapolis?
Well, like you just said, we put out a press release condemning it, and we also call for the abolition of ICE. It should not exist. Um, so there are a lot of things that we are concerned about in relation to ICE. Like, not only are they using physical violence, they are also using warrantless surveillance against the population, which is also unacceptable and we are strongly opposed to. They are using mobile apps to take pictures of people and use facial recognition to determine who you are and then link you up to your social media profiles and track your location using your cell phones to be able to track where you are at all times. They do all this without any sort of warrant to justify it, and it's severe infringements on civil liberties all around, and it's just totally out of control. And we are strongly opposed to it. And we actually created a few years ago now a project called the Banish Big Brother Project, which has grown large enough now to spin off into its own organization, which is dedicated to getting government surveillance out of your life.
So one of the issues that keeps cropping up is the fact that ICE agents are wearing masks. There's a lot of demand right now for ICE agents to unmask. Just starting with Mr. Allen, where does your party stand on the masking of federal agents when they do these kinds of activities?
Yeah, we're definitely opposed to it. We call for complete government transparency. Law enforcement agents should not be masked when going about regular enforcement duties. And we also call for the end of qualified immunity so that any officers who take actions like what we saw in Minneapolis can be charged and held accountable for their actions.
Mr. Ramirez, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say very similar. No mask, no reason for the mask. Funny enough, one of our DSA elected officials in the state of Georgia last year introduced a bill on requiring ICE agents, police officers, law enforcement in general, to state who they're with and not allow any face coverings. And so, yes, there's no reason to have the face covering, but I'd say, like, again, abolish ICE. At the end of the day, like, we could say you shouldn't have face masks. You shouldn't exist is what I'm trying to say to ICE. So yeah.
That seems to be the position people are starting to, at least some people are starting to coalesce around. Hearing it become mainstream more and more. We've been having protests here locally. The schools, there have been numerous walkouts, there have been vigils, there have been all sorts of things. And Mr. Ramirez, do you think that Atlanta and DeKalb County have the potential to see the kind of confrontations like the ones that we've seen in Minneapolis?
Absolutely. I mean, we have such a diverse community. It's really scary. I do know. I know at the city council level, there's work to try to prevent that from happening, and also at the county level. But I mean, at this point, it kind of seems like Trump does not listen to what municipalities are saying. He will just do whatever he wants. Yeah, I think it's a real possibility.
Mr. Allen, what about you?
It's certainly possible. As always, we support everyone's right to peacefully protest, and we would oppose the kind of extreme tactics that we've seen ICE employ against protesters in Minneapolis.
So if you're just joining us, this is the Decatur-ish Download podcast. I'm your host, editor and founder Dan Wisenhunt. I'm joined by Mr. Brian Allen, co-chair of the Libertarian Party of Georgia, and Mr. Brian Ramirez, co-chair of the Atlanta Democratic Socialist of America. If you have questions for our guest tonight, feel free to ask them in the comments. Let's talk about everybody's favorite topic, mass surveillance. We talked about some of the stuff your party's doing, Mr. Allen, regarding mass surveillance and surveillance bills. Seems like every time I turn around, I cover the crime beat, so I deal with this a lot. I'm getting a press release about a real-time crime center or flock cameras or AI monitoring. And most people don't seem to have any questions about this technology. Most officials that I've run into I don't see a lot of pushback. I see a lot of acceptance, the sort of sentiment that, it's going to make our job easier. It's going to make enforcement easier. What are the concerns that, starting with Mr. Allen, that your group has about all of the surveillance that's being implemented now, especially at the local level? A lot of cities are doing stuff with flock and drones and that sort of thing.
Well, it's very easily abusable, especially when you don't have any sort of warrant to be doing this surveillance in the first place. And we've seen plenty of cases of false positives where they'll think someone did something, and then they'll show up at their door, accusing them of doing it when it wasn't even them. So first of all, the technology isn't foolproof by any means. And second of all, it is extremely susceptible to corruption and violation of rights. Like, I'm sure everyone's familiar with 1984, right? That's not an instruction manual. That's a warning.
Mr. Ramirez, what do you think? I'm always baffled at how little concern our elected officials seem to have about any of the technology. They're just kind of embracing it and moving right along.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, you look at Atlanta, one of the most surveilled cities in the country. I think I might be making this number up, but around 50,000 cameras in the city itself, around that number. It's just crazy. That does not need to happen. That does not need to exist. And just like what the other Bryant said, false positives used in cases of corruption, like it's not foolproof, like this, and it's a huge evasion of privacy. And so there's just no reason why we need these cameras. Why we need to be, me personally, working with a private group like Flock, that seek to profit off of this. So
Let me argue on behalf of the cameras for a second. Play devil's advocate, I suppose. One of the top concerns that local officials hear from their constituents is about crime, break-ins, property crime, for the most part. And there's a sense that, especially now, policing is not everyone's first choice when it comes to a career these days. But there's a sense that this, in a way, is sort of making up for that lack of manpower. If cameras aren't the solution to make people safer, what is?
Getting rid of poverty. I mean, there's direct correlation between poverty and crime. If we work to better people's lives, make sure we're living in an affordable place, like make sure everyone has a roof over their head, everyone's eating right, then I can guarantee you'll see crime be nearly non-existent.
Mr. Allen, what's your solution? If we can't supplement our thinning police force with cameras, what's the solution?
Right. So like what Mr. Ramirez was saying, certainly improving everyone's standard of living certainly helps. And there are definitely ways of doing that. And also, like we were talking about before, there is self-defense. If you are armed, then you do not need to wait for the police to come and help you. You can protect yourself. And we also have to keep in mind that the police are effectively a government monopoly. And as a result of that, they are inherently inefficient.
I'm sensing a lot of agreement. Are you sure you are on the same party? I mean, it just sounds like there's so much agreement and overlap between y'all. Did y'all get together before the show or work on anything? Or
no? I mean, I would argue in a lot of cases, the government's monopoly is a benefit, but in this case specifically for police, it should not be the government's monopoly.
Put pause on that because we're going to talk about healthcare next. Real quick, wanted to let you all know about this week's sponsor, Pastries A Go-Go. After 30 years, Pastries A Go-Go is now serving espresso drinks. So their incredible biscuits and pastries can be paired with a really good latte. Pastries A Go Go is fresh baked and now perfectly brewed. 20,000 Decatur-ish readers voted Pastries A Go Go best breakfast and best brunch. Be sure to check them out. They're in downtown Decatur, and not for nothing, they do have free parking. So there's that. Mr. Allen, let's talk about healthcare for a second, because everyone, I think everyone kind of forgot that the ACA extended subsidies were not always there. That I think is that it was supposed to be temporary, but now they've decided to. I don't even know what the status of it is. I probably should have looked this up for the show. But healthcare and people getting the sticker shock of going on the marketplace and seeing what it's like without the subsidies is terrifying to people. I know it was terrifying to me when I owned my business. Mr. Allen, what is the solution? What can the state legislature do to expand healthcare access to more people that need it?
So at the state level, one of the things they could do would be to eliminate the certificate of need laws that Georgia has. We've been involved in reform there. If you aren't aware, certificate of need basically means if you want to build a hospital or other healthcare facility, you first need to get permission from the state. And there are all kinds of incentives from the entrenched hospitals already in existence to prevent new hospitals. So that's one way. But in general, you have to unwind decades of government interventions that have consistently raised healthcare prices across the board. Like if you had an actual, not just a ACA marketplace, but a real market in healthcare, prices would go down dramatically.
Mr. Ramirez, well, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say first thing that the state legislature can do is expand Medicaid. Yeah, I mean, that's one simple step. I mean, growing up, I was on what was it called, the Peach Plan, and that barely did anything. Yeah, but that's one thing, expanding Medicaid. But also, I do know that when it comes to Medicaid and the state health plan, there is a work requirement. Not a work requirement, but the paperwork to do it is incredibly complicated and is a huge reason why um, so many people apply for it. So there needs to be a lot of less red tape when applying for things like state funded healthcare or state subsidized healthcare. Expanding health infrastructure in general is another thing. I mean, we should be funding clinics, hospitals, especially in rural areas where hospitals can be scarce, where hospitals are closing. And in the long term, Medicare for all, single payer healthcare, it should be free. And then also the fact that it's it's based on profit, it just inherently requires some kind of exploitation. If it's based on profit, if the healthcare system is based on profit, people will always be finding ways to cut costs, and that always will come. And those cuts will always will affect, when the customer, the owner, the person who is trying to receive those benefits, who's trying to get that healthcare.
Mr. Allen, what do you think about expanding Medicaid, taking that Medicaid expansion? Georgia has not done that. One of several red states that did not. Do you think that that's something the state should explore, given what we're dealing with now?
No, the last thing we need is even more government intervention into the market. Like it's this constant cycle of, okay, the government intervenes and raises prices. So now we're going to intervene again to try and lower prices. But in the long run, it's just going to continue spiraling prices up and up and up. So even if you don't necessarily see the price tag when you go to pay it, you're still going to see it in your tax bill for these plans.
So what's the solution? I mean, how do we get people need health insurance, right? I mean,
absolutely, yeah.
What's the solution?
So the solution is to have a free market in healthcare, right? So if you had, like what Mr. Ramirez was saying, like some company trying to scam you, then they're going to go out of business by being outcompeted by their competitors. This notion that profit means exploitation is simply untrue. You earn profit in a free market by providing goods and services that people want. And if you don't do that, then someone else will come around and do it instead.
Mr. Ramirez, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, we could go on for a very long time about just capitalism and profit, but I think again, if healthcare was run by the government, there is no need for a profit, and so there's no need to look for ways to grow your profit. And then when it comes to taxes specifically, obviously this stuff isn't free. There are billionaires, or almost trillionaires, I think, who should not even exist. You can fund so much by making sure they pay their fair share, and us, the working class, we're the tax that we pay doesn't change. It can be covered by the 1%.
Let's switch gears real quick because the legislature is tackling some things this year related to affordability. That has become a buzzword that both parties are really interested in talking about lately because everything has gotten ridiculously expensive. Mr. Ramirez, there is a proposal right now to basically eliminate property taxes and eliminate income taxes. I think eliminating both would make things affordable. Now, I don't know what that would mean for society at large, but it definitely would make give me more money, and I like money. What's your take on that? Do you think that those are proposals actually worth exploring?
No. So I think when it comes to taxes, it needs to be a progressive tax. The more money you make, the more money you will pay is the thinking there. When it comes to right now, when it comes to property tax, I work in the state legislature and I look at a lot of budgets. When it comes to property taxes, a lot of that goes into schools. I used to do education policy, and I'm just not really sure. I think it's around 70% on average schools receive property taxes from the county. And so, yeah, I don't, right now, I'd be really worried for the schools. Education is really important. Education is, the one thing that everyone deserves and is a right. But yeah, yeah. I mean, I just don't think either of those income tax or property tax should not go. I think there's ways to change it to be more progressive. Again, the more money you make, the more you charge, the more you pay. But yeah.
Mr. Allen, if there's no property taxes and no income tax, how's the government going to pay for services?
Well, that's the neat thing. It wouldn't. So this notion that you need the government to come in and take your money to fund important things is just untrue. Like, how you want to spend your money better than the government ever possibly could. Like, if education is important, and I would agree education is important, then people will spend their money voluntarily on education. And we already know that you can have non-government schools that, even in Georgia, we see enrollment rates going down in the public schools as people move to alternatives like private schools or homeschooling, because it's just superior to, again, the government monopoly that is inherently inefficient.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody's going to spend their money on education, though. See, that's the thing. And not everybody is. You send your kids to school because they have to go to school, right? Not every parent would do that if there wasn't some social worker, who's going to show up and say, "Why aren't your kids going to school?" I mean, if my kid misses a day, I get a call from the attendance office. I mean, are you sure that's what people are going to do with that money? They're going to put all their kids in private school? I mean, what if they don't? Don't we have to deal with the consequences of that?
Well, ultimately, parents are in the best position to know how best to raise their own children, right? It is the role of parents to raise children, not the state. And, it is true possibly that some parents won't send their kids to school and will instead, teach them a trade or something of that nature. But central planning is fundamentally flawed. Like this idea that the state knows how much should be going into education, how much to spend, how much education should be provided is simply untrue. We've known this for over a century with the economic calculation problem, which proved that central planners cannot rationally allocate resources. And that is why marketplace will always beat any sort of central plan.
We're going to end tonight on data centers because we are dealing with one proposed data center in Ellenwood, and also some proposed data center regulations that the DeKalb County Commission is currently exploring. Mr. Allen, what has your party said or done with regard to the development of data centers and data center policy? Do you have a position on it?
Well, we definitely are opposed to the special subsidies that they receive. A lot of the problem has been that they receive these tax incentives, which then artificially increases the number that you have. And then on the other side, you also have another government monopoly in the form of the electric utility, which can then charge special rates as opposed to if you just had a marketplace in electric utilities, which could more evenly distribute the costs among customers. So you have the twofold problem of intervention, both in incentives to construct and the pricing not being correct the way that it would be in a marketplace.
Mr. Ramirez, what is the DSA doing with regard to data centers? Where have y'all taken a position on it?
Us locally or nationally, not really, but I can say what people do feel within the DSA is no data centers, no data centers, especially no subsidies for those data centers. We don't need a huge building in the middle of our neighborhood. But also I do want to push back a little on the electricity part. I would argue that currently our Georgia Power is, well, it's a private company. It's a private public partnership. And again, they seek profit. And so it's their best interest to increase rates because they want higher profits. And especially so with the data centers, one data center can use around 10,000 megawatts of power. Yeah, I mean, or that's at least that's the growth I think Georgia Power needs to. But anyways, that affects every person who pays electric bills. Like there's not infinite energy, and we'll see our rates price hikes, see price hikes happen, and it's just yeah, I would say overall we're not anti-technology, but we are anti-corporate subsidies and anti-monopoly. And if a data center can't operate without shifting it, yeah, I mean, if a data center can't operate without shifting its cost onto the public, it's no longer, you can't call it economic development. It's more like extraction.
Gotcha. Well, we are at the end of our show. I wanted to give you both a chance real quick. Mr. Ramirez, what are some issues that you are following both locally in the legislature this year that you're keeping tabs on?
Definitely a lot of ICE related things. I am also personally been looking at getting a poverty weight into our statewide school budget. That's me personally. But also anything around affordability. Our DSA elected had a hearing for one of his bills where it bans AI price fixing. And there's a real possibility that we can push that further. And so yeah, that's what I've been keeping my eye on.
Mr. Allen, how about you?
Yeah, so last year there was a bill introduced to eliminate automated traffic camera ticketing. Going back into the privacy issue, so that's something we've been hoping to finish this year, to eliminate these automated signals. And then also, just the other day, there was a bill dropped to make gold and silver legal tender in Georgia. Going back to affordability, one of the big problems that we face just nationally is with the Federal Reserve constantly increasing the money supply, which then decreases the value of the money in your pocket. Whereas if you were able to use alternatives such as gold and silver, you would be able to retain your purchasing power over time instead of being subject to the whims of the Federal Reserve's bad monetary policies.
Probably worth an episode on monetary policy at some point, because we could go down a whole rabbit hole. Mr. Allen, Mr. Ramirez, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate your time, and I hope you'll join us again at some point. We'll find
Absolutely.
a topic.
Yeah,
All right.
sure, it's fun.
Thank you so much. This is the Decatur-ish Download Show. We stream every Thursday at 7 p.m. right here on Facebook and YouTube. You can also check us out as a podcast tomorrow on the App and Media Podcast Network. With that, we hope you all have a great weekend. Stay warm, and we'll talk to you again next week.